I think pads is going to 3-bet a fair bit here. I think he's been donking a bit here, and it's true. Whilst it's true, he might donk once in a while on a gut shot. I think that just calling is actually okay. He probably puts us on a 10 here. Hopefully he hasn't got 3-4. Yeah, just betting with a 10. You know, raising turn sort of went through my mind. I don't know if he thinks he's bluffing there or not. He might actually think he's folding out like jacks and stuff, but I don't think so. Interesting that he donks out with that middle pair there. But I think that just the flatting was the way to go, and I think it did confuse him a little. Not confuse him, but I'm still not sure if he thought he was value betting or bluffing. I guess he thought he was value betting because we might call with a worse 10 or like 7s or something, but it seems very thin. It was very, very merged sort of range, wasn't it? So the hand I hate, the Queen 10, and not just because of what happened before. It's always been my most hated hand. We have again, and I think just calling with it, this stack depth is okay. You could argue for shoving against this guy. He's pretty wide on the button. We're only short-handed. He has about M11, but it's a little bit too deep, I think. Just slightly too deep. And it's a pretty bad flop, so I think we're just going to give it up. I mean, the thing about check raising here is most of the time he's got nothing, but I mean, he knows that we would jam a pair pre and probably ace high. So check raises just kind of doesn't really make a lot of sense, I think. It's a pretty interesting spot here. 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. I think I'm just going to shove here, to be honest. It's a pretty big shove. Yeah, how does he wake up with queens? And maybe he's just had, you know, hands sort of the whole time, sort of thing. I mean, that's always a possibility. And it is a very big shove, but M15 four-handed. I mean, it's not that big, but I just think he's been so aggressive. I really think that we've been opening just enough too that he might sort of, you know, he might be light. I mean, I think he's folding a lot, and he could always call with like ace jack, ace queen, ace king, or something that we're ahead of. So it's a really, really close spot. The thing about calling with it is we're not really getting the right price, but it's close. If we have a look here, once he makes the raise, it's you know, I might actually try and pull one past these guys here because Carpe Diem looks like he's in a hand over here and he might fold. That's the plan anyway. Just please fold one time. Concentrate on this table. And now he's won this one. He's going to look back here and go, oh, ace is up. Okay, I'm calling. So I think this is a hand that needs a bit of protection. At the same time, you know, we've got the gutser, which is a bit of a nice sort of bonus to have. Just going to bet small. He's probably got 10 jack, 8-10 suited. Queen 9 suited a lot. Could have ace 4, I guess, but if you check raises, I mean, I'm probably going to call and see what he does on the turn. I think it would should probably check raise mostly with 2 pairs and flush draws. But even 2 pair he might consider, I think, trapping a bit more, but definitely a very close spot. So yeah, just coming back to the sixes hand, I mean, there's already 35,000 out there. If we pick that up, we go to over 200, and pads is down to 165. We chip leader. If we call here for 14, I mean, there's 165 behind in his stack. I mean, it's pretty close. We're probably in the vicinity of getting the right price. But at the same time, I think he's 3-betting a lot here, just because he's aggressive. I just think he's folding a lot. And, I mean, you could have a look at it, calculate how often he needs to fold in his calling range. I mean, I actually don't think he's going to call there with 7s, but he probably calls with 8s up. And of course, if he's 3-bet to call, 8s up, and probably ace-jack suited and ace-queen off up and something like that. Ace-jack up. Probably ace-jack up and 8s up. Ace-10 in hands like that, I mean, he might even... Ace-10 suited, be pretty close. I mean, he might even just like call with those hands. I mean, he's definitely going to have a calling range, I presume. So he's a little bit polarizing when he 3-bets, because he's in the big blind, so he's getting a good price just to call with hands like, you know, Queen 10 and stuff. But it's hard to say. I mean, what we saw was him just raising or 3-betting every hand, but actually having hands. But the stats tell us that he, you know, 3-bets a lot. And we can actually see 3-bet versus position. 3-bet versus middles 11 versus cutoff is 14 versus button is 13 versus small blind is 31. I mean, he just 3-bets a ton. It's only 4-handed. He's going to be 3-betting even more. And if we do just call, we put ourselves in a pretty tough spot, because pocket sixes, you know, most of the time we don't flop a set, obviously, and we're just in a tough spot where, you know, he's going to be c-betting, and we just have to fold on just so many boards, unless we get like the miracle like 2-3-4 board, which, you know, is being a bit hopeful. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's I mean, the board actually only comes 8 or less 15% of the time. So the 8 or less boards that we probably call on, that's only going to happen 15%. So 9 or less is about 21. And 10 or less is 31%, but even a 10 high board EC bet's a pretty tough spot. Unless it's like 10-5-2, you know, then I might call one and see what he does turn. You know, there's still a possibility too. I mean, if the board had have come, you know, 7-4-2, he bets, we call, the turn's a repeat 2, he bets, we call. You know, there's still a chance we would have lost a lot of chips post-flop, potentially. As it was, the board was ace high, he probably bets small, we probably just fold. Or maybe it goes check-check, and it would actually, we would have averted disaster. But at the same time, I just think against that player, it can't be that bad. The question is it just a bit too risky? I don't think it's a losing play, but is it really warranted given the tournament equity that we have left from that point with these players? Yeah, I mean, you could argue it, and it's pretty close, and it could be proven to be not the optimal play, but I don't think it was. I don't think it was bad. Tongue in cheek, I mean, I don't think it was bad. It seems okay to me. In the moment right now, maybe I'll review it later and have a different opinion, but let's leave that for now and focus on the big tamale. So we still picked up 700 from that one, 663, and we're playing here for 9,500, so it's considerable. So try and zone in and make some good decisions here. Got the calculator handy. Price structure looks like this: 9.5, 6.6, 5,000, 3.7, 2.4, 2, 1.6. We are chip leader. We've got a little buffer, and we have a sprinkling of you know, good players and, well, hard to say, decent players and maybe not decent players. I mean, I don't know about my side here. I'm not too sure. I mean, Godlike, I played with him a bit. I've got a note on him that looks like a very ABC boring to play. Is probably a really, really, really old note from like when I used to play a little bit of heads up online on Stars. I mean, I used to play a lot of heads up online initially. I'm an absolute poker. That's how I started playing online. But This just looks like a really old note, and he is locked. I said wrote good luck, I meant to write lock. He's locked, this guy's locked. Sharkscope normally players lock it if they're not that happy with their results, but sometimes it's just that they don't want spies. So we don't know. But this guy, my note says that he's sort of a weaker player, and Sharkscope wouldn't necessarily agree with that because it says his ability is 93, but it's only because of this one big score he had where it looks like he lucked box 40k, and looks like he was kind of breaking even before that for a very long period of 3,000 games. So it could mean that he's on a heater, but it looks like. Well, I mean, some players have got to start somewhere. Maybe this is the start of his upswing and he's actually improved his game and he's a winning player. But for now, we're going to presume that he's probably the weak link of the table. Because if you took away that one big score, he looks like he's sort of struggling, kind of thing. I mean, it's not hard to see that difference in these two graphs here between 42 AA and this guy's like even, bang. Whereas this guy's just sort of, you know, grinding it out, and then all of a sudden up, very steady, going up to 300k from this point around here. So anyway, that's enough of that stuff. Let's just zone in and see what they're doing, because you don't want to get too carried away with that. Just a bit of a distraction, actually. So we've got Mikarok here, 3-betting. I think this is a really good 3-bet here. Very nice. Just puts this guy under so much pressure. I mean, what's he going to do with Ace-Jack there? I mean, even Ace-Queen is kind of annoying. You know, you're just at the final table. You're coming 5th, you know. There's a couple of shot stacks out there. You've opened from 2nd, and a guy from mid attacks you with a 3-bet viciously. I mean, it's just kind of... yeah, I mean, it's just... It just puts you in a tough spot, you know. It puts him in an uncomfortable spot, no doubt. He gets bet out on the flop. He gets bet out on the turn. Very interesting, this turn bet. It's on the smallish side. I actually think Mikarok might be folding. But I mean, my side is repping extreme strength here. And just keep in mind, we don't really know anything about my side, you know. I mean, he could be a massive fish, and so Mikarok might be... wow! That is crazy, crazy stuff. Very interesting hand, that one. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty close all around. I really think Mikarok is okay just to call this. I mean, he's getting like 18 to 1 implieds-ish, 17 in position. As it was, it would have been, if he did flat, it would have been probably bet, call, and then maybe bet, call, and then shove, call. Something like that. So it probably would have been the same result anyway. My side, I think the problem with my side there, and this might be why Mikarok decided to 3-bet it, is that my side might be a bit of a fish. You know, I mean, here am I saying, what do you do there with Ace-Jack and Ace-Queen? You're in a horrible spot, and he's calling with King-Jack off out of position there. It's pretty gross. Gonna fold that one. So I think it's more of a 3-builder fold for me, I think, that one. And a lot of players might excuse me guys. A lot of players might like to flat there, but I think flatting is not too bad, but you got to be careful flatting because the variance goes up, and flatting in high pressure situations, especially in that sort of spot where the SPR is going to be 13, a 7 or 8, you know, and then a c-bet call, it's going to be getting pretty low by the turn. You put yourself in a pretty dangerous spot to spew a lot of, not spew, but, you know, you lose chips with a hand that can be dominated pretty bad. A lot of players at final tables come in with this approach like, oh, well, he's going to be stealing wide, so I'm going to be defending wide. But, I mean, this is not in this particular instance. I don't think he's stealing wide, but players that do have that mentality are actually kind of making a big mistake by just opening themselves up to a ton of variance. It does give them an opportunity to get some chips, that's true, but it also gives them a lot more exits or a lot more sort of stack-offs, and you got to really balance it. King 10 suited, I think I would have played. King 10 off is, for me, more of a 3-builder fold there. But, you know, very close. You can kind of go either way with it. They make jam by scummies, scams. How do you want to say that? I think he's from Scandinavia, Sweden. Very good player. I just hadn't really mentioned him because he's kind of shortish, but very, very good player. Quite a dangerous player, I think. I think we really kind of have a lot of history with Carpe Diem. Now, already. I think checking back is fine. Betting is fine. If he does check raise, it puts us in a horrible, horrible spot. Which is why checking back is fine. So I think checking turn for control now. I think he can have Jack Queen, 10 Jack. That's a really bad card, because you can have 6, 8, 8, 10, 10 Jack, Jack Queen, 9, 10. All those hands now beat us. The only hand really that we actually beat is if he's got like 6, 7, Ace 7, Queen 7, 7, 8. They're probably the only hands now. Could also have Jack 8, I guess. Call for the guts. Yeah, I mean, I just don't really think we beat much anymore unless he's turning a 7 into a bluff, which is kind of unlikely, I think. So I think I'm just going to have to fold. If the 10 had been a brick, you know, I definitely would have been looking to call river. If it had been an ace or a repeat or a 6 down, definitely calling. There's always an option that we could make a huge raise here and try and fold out, you know, a pair or 2 pair. If he's value betting thinly with like Queen 10, or if he's got like King 8, we could probably fold those hands, but I don't think it's quite necessary right now. He just has been a little bit of a thorn in our side, hasn't he? It's important to remember too that we are coming third, so you know we have a little bit of a buffer on the chips below. So you know we want to look to be aggressive and accumulate, but at the same time, you know we sort of, I mean, we're doing pretty good. I wouldn't say coasting through, but you know definitely we're going to lose a few more players before we're going to be under too much stress. Unless things go awry. And so with that in mind, I'm just sort of pointing out that we have to be a little bit careful, like in that last play with the river raise, if we do go down that path, that we have to be has to have a pretty good chance of success, or put a player, I think, under a lot of pressure. And there it didn't really. I mean, we make it 40,000. I mean, he can still call and have a bundle of chips kind of thing. And he might get a bit curious. I mean, he could always have backed into spades too. It's not impossible. But yeah, I mean, this guy's M5, this guy's M2. Scummies is M8 now. Yeah, Godlike Roy, M9. These guys are all pretty short. It's actually a little bit of an annoying spot for us because we've got the two better players of the bunch right on our left. Carpe and Mika. And at least 42AA is a bit shortened up here. But these two guys probably the two better players on the table other than 42AA. And what's going to happen? It's actually a good result, I think. I think I'd rather that happen, to be honest, rather than giving 42AA a few more chips. Probably a little bit too rich for our blood here. That's it, guys. We could have the best hand some of the time, but I just think that with the ICM the way it is, it's not going to do us too good to call there. And you can always have a little peekaboo in the ICM, at the ICM. Interesting spot here. $153. $16, yeah. I think if we had it opened here and one of these guys 3-bet, I might even have 4-bet there, but not sure. It's actually not too bad. I mean, probably prefer to keep... They just keep swapping, sharing chips around, don't they? It's just a bit annoying for us here, you know. I think Carpe Diem's got the best seat by far. Because he gets to raise into short stacks, and we have to raise with some big stacks behind that can actually put us under a lot of pressure with 3-bets. Not at all the situation we want. We see Carpe Diem doing that here. It's a little bit of a large one, that one. So it looked like he was calling. And, I mean, I want the chips to be shared around a little bit, but this is getting ridiculous. I mean, I want someone to bust. It's actually not too bad, I guess, from a point that Carpe Diem might be more dangerous with chips than Godlike. But I'm not sure. I'm not too sure, but... Carpe made that kind of a little bit big, didn't he? It made me think that he was going to call for some reason. I think if he was 3-bet bluffing, he gets a lot of leverage without necessarily needing to make it that big. So it looked kind of strong, I thought. These are all pretty good spots to raise when the blinds are big blinds here, here, or here, because it's a little bit hard for guys to 3-bet with the short stacks because they commit to them. Having said that, these guys, the light blue guys here are so short that you know, they might 3-bet light and then just call off anyway. But the players might think, you know, Mikorok might be there thinking, okay, Acesup raised into, you know, 42 AA. He knows he's short, so he's probably going to bust this hand if he decides to call anyway. You know, 42 AA might commit this hand and bust, and yeah, whatever. I'll just let this one slide, you know. And he might be a little bit more inclined to give us a breather. Compared to, you know, if these guys were a bit deeper stacked. I mean, everybody wants these guys to bust a little bit so they can move up to sort of 6 left. And it might happen right now. We've got this M2 jam. And it might get through. I'm probably going to call there with like a ace, any ace, king 9 suited and better, queen 10 up, any pair, something like that. Something around that range. We're really a prime target for 3-betting right now because we're coming third and there's short stacks out there, so the bubble factor is massive. So I'm not opening in spots like that just because it's just setting yourself up to be a target. I mean, any player that opens right now with an M sort of 10 to 15 is just setting themselves up to be a target for 3-bet because it just puts them in such an uncomfortable position when there's a couple of M2 stacks out there, you know, because they don't really want to 4-bet for their tournament life. And that's what 3-betting an M sort of 12-ish stack does, is it asks them the question of if they want to commit, you know, for the tournament, if they do continue in the hand. And, you know, you just don't want to be put in that spot. And so with that in mind, you can expect to see me playing fairly tight for a few orbits, most likely, just because God like Mikorok and Carpe Diem are all capable of 3-betting us, and I think won't hesitate to do so. And I mean, should be. We'd be doing the same thing if they opened and they were on our right. So it's just really dynamics, just being aware of it. The other thing is too is Carpe Diem actually has been defending a lot against steals, so just got to be aware of that too. I mean, interesting one there. Hands like this, I mean, if we open here, any one of these guys can 3-bet us, and we pretty much have to fold or 4-bet. And so I think I will just let it go. If I was going to open that, I'm actually probably going to 4-bet jam it, just because I think we get 3-bet that often. So I probably don't want to quite. I mean, and I have done that plenty of times. You know, just opened with, you know, Queen 8 there, and there's one time I had Queen 6 suited in a very similar spot. Opened, guy on the button, you know, 3-bet, just snap ship like M15. He snap folds, just because it's so obvious, you know, that they're 3-betting to fold. And, you know, if you plug the numbers in ICMizer, I mean, it actually says, if you plug in the 3-betting range, you know, it actually says that you can 4-bet jam pretty wide. So, you know, it's risky, but at the same time, you know their range is wide, so you're going to pick up a lot of dead money most of the time. But it is just creating a bit of a higher variance sort of, potentially, you know, situation, putting ourselves in a situation to bust when we potentially don't need to right now, until we lose a couple more players, and then I think we can open up just a little bit more. Right now, if we were 5 left, I'd probably start opening up a lot. If it was 5 left right now, I would just be opening and then 4-bet jamming a lot without too much hesitation. And this one might have to be that sort of situation here, I think. But it does get through. Snuck that one through. Fast folds. Everyone had trash. actually kind of a fun final table, just because of these guys' stack depths are so short, you know. Please raise somebody. I don't want to have to thank you. I think we can fold against this guy. I don't think he's too wild. Well, it's kind of close. We could put him under pressure, but I think I'm going to wait. I didn't want to have to decide what to do if 42 AA jammed on us. You know, it's a pretty tough spot. See if Godliker gets in a 3-bet here. No, just a flat. I think I'm just going to go for a small bet here. I think the problem with checking is I think we'll just barrel us off our hand too often. So I think between how often he floats, or just has a worse pair in calls, I think we're probably okay to check call here. And then we just have to decide on the river. I think just checking, just in case we bet and he raises river, he might bet a hand for value that's actually worse. Like a Jack-9 when he hits the 9. So the small flop bet just enticed him to float. And you know, that was really my intention. The problem with betting bigger is we're giving him a better price to put pressure on us. And it's a pretty good board for it. I mean, if we don't have a queen, it's pretty hard to continue. He could have a queen, he could have a flush draw. At the same time, you know, he shouldn't really be raising too many queens that don't 3-bet pre. Like ace-queen, he might 3-bet that pre. So is he really going to 3-bet like, you know, queen 10, queen jack, and those types of hands with a higher bubble factor? He might not. He might just decide, look, I'll control, I'll keep in bluffs, I can get value later, rather than just start building a big pot straight away. Maybe. It's hard to say. And we just will not lose a player. These guys, they just keep surviving. And the blinds have gone up even again now. So it's like, yeah, I mean, the blinds are really getting high now. Even Carpe Diem now is down to M9. So, yeah, that Jack's hand, you know, is kind of interesting. If we check flop, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, he might bet, we check call, turn, we check, he bets, we call, river, he shoves, we fold. If he's that sick, I mean, you know. We've got a hand that does need some protection. Interesting one here. Let's see what happens. Okay, we sneak one through. Got a few more chips now. We can 4-bet there if we want to, which is always good. Especially against Mikarok or Godlike, we could potentially 4-bet. Carpe Diem now is kind of getting a bit low to be 3-betting, you know. So let's we finally lose one. So that's always a you know, something to think about. This Carpe Diem now is kind of getting a little bit low to be. I think we can open again here. Carpe Diem is getting a little bit low to be 3-betting too wide. This is a close one here. I don't mind opening. This open here is it's more aimed at the sort of the blinds kind of can't really defend too wide against us. These guys here. He's gone with a very small 3-bet. We saw him do this before with pocket 8s. So he does have a bit of a merged range rather than just hands that will flat. At the other, you know, so I mean, the question is, do we want to fold or 4-bet? You know, and we could always look at 4-betting. I mean, we could always consider if we do think his hand contains a lot of merged hands that might fold. You know, we can definitely think about making it sort of 42. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's quite necessary because we're coming second and there's shorts there. And I just don't think, but it's close, but I just don't think we quite need to get ourselves in that situation right now. Yeah, I mean, it's quite a nice 3-bet by him. And we did see him do it earlier with 8s at sort of similar stack depths. which I thought was a little bit surprising because I thought he might just flat with it. So he might just 3-bet all of those hands, which means that he's probably going to fold to a lot of 4-bets because, I mean, I don't think if we 4-bet he's really going to call with 8s there. He's probably going to have to fold it. And we would look pretty strong, obviously. Open UTG, get 3-bet, and then 4-bet, big stack on big stack. And it was pretty close. I mean, we could have taken it next level, but yeah, I mean, I think we can find better spots. Miko Rock set the trap, but he ran into kings. How's that? Wow. And he thought that all these Christmases had come at once then, when Carpe Diem jammed, and now Carpe Diem is back up to chip leader, and that is running good when you get kings on queens. Let's see if we can get a bit of that action happening. Yeah, that was an interesting one. I quite liked the flat by Mikarok there. He set the trap. He laid the trap. At the same time, you know, if he's 3-betting against UTG, it looks very strong. And so I think trapping is quite good. And then it does, you know, you cast your mind back and think, well, hang on a minute, he did just 3-bet us, and he did just flat with queens, so what the hell is he 3-betting? Maybe he was bluffing. Who knows? Who knows? It would have been good to lose Carpe Diem here. Everyone's just refusing to bust. It's very sticky. Sticky players here. Short stacks keep doubling up. Ooh. Holy bolies. Wow. That was a pretty gross hand. Pretty sick hand. Wow. What are you going to do when they come for you? Oh my lord. Diamond. That would have been running too good, cracking aces there. 9, 10. It's a close one here. So I think in this instance, 5, 8, 9, 10. Wow. Kind of feels like he can have a hand here, but 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. How do we want to continue? He has 3-bet quite a bit. He has seen us opening quite a bit. We can probably call, I think. I think 3-betting if we're wrong and he snaps us with ace queen or ace king is a little bit of a big error just because of the stacks at the moment, but I just don't think we can quite. We're a little bit too strong to fold. And at the same time, M16 jamming is, I think M14 and 13 I wouldn't have a problem with it, but M16 second chip leader, I'm just not sure it's quite what we want to do right now. It is playing into his hands a little bit. It is playing into his hands a little bit because he can, you know, he has the stack. He has the stack to put us, you know, under pressure. And I think that it's probably going to be a split, but Wish got ace 9. Nope, okay, we got lucky on that one. I think he got a bit, he panicked a bit, I think, that he, maybe we're stealing, I think. So, he 3-bet us with king 10, so he snap folding to, of course, the 4-bet. But, yeah, nice play by him, though, I think, to be 3-betting it. M7 here, this would be close if he jams on us. I think he probably has a king a fair bit. I think he would have jammed hearts. He could have a 6. I guess he could have ace 4 or ace 6. I don't think he's going to turn those into a bluff. I mean, he could. I don't think so. Looks like he's got king 10 suited. Guess he can have king queen. Jam. We don't really beat anything. I don't think that value bets. That's the problem. A6. Is A6 going to block bet? We do have 6-7 blockers. Wow. Unreal. Yeah, I probably should have folded that one. It looked like he had a king. But yeah, I mean, it was a close one. His bet sizing was really good. I mean, any bigger I definitely fold, but just in case, we bet pretty small in the flop. Just in case he's, floated us. I mean, I don't think he's going to float too often, but he could have something a little bit weird, because we didn't bet very big on the flop. Calling there is an option as well. You can always think about just calling. With queens against Carpe Diem. But, we've got a bit of history with him. We have 3-bet him a couple of times. Obviously, he's 3-bet us. We've 3-bet him a couple. More so on the 22 action hour that we played earlier. We battled on that as well, obviously, so. Interesting 3-bet here. Very small. But at the same time, gets terrific leverage against Nino. And, Nino. I mean, it looks very nutty, but I don't know. I mean, we saw him before that he had a big score recently, but otherwise he's kind of a break-even player, so he could be doing something. Yeah, he was. He was just getting a bit out of control. I mean, the raised buy scams looked very strong, like inducive size, and Nino fell for the bait and tried to 4-bet it. It's not that bad, but I mean, I just think it's a little bit too much of his stack, I think, to risk. He put sort of 1/3 of his stack in. He had 120, he put in 40, and then folded. I feel like you can probably put that 40k to better use. Well, I mean, it wasn't 40 because he already had a raise out there, but the extra 30k. I just feel like you can probably put that to better use elsewhere, I think. I mean, yeah, probably he can. I will just click deal to see if anyone's... I don't really want to deal right now, but I think if it was probably 3-handed, especially if it was, say, Carpe Diem and Scams and us, then I'd probably probably would be okay with it. I don't think there's going to be a big edge either way. Wow. Interesting one. He's flat at about M14 here. Don't really know too much about him. He seems a little bit on the aggressive side. I'm a little bit surprised he's just flatted, to be honest. I think we can probably fire here. I think he's probably got like King Jack and King Queen a lot. Maybe Ace 10, but I think he 3-bets a lot of those types of hands. So I think we're pretty clear to value bet there because I think he's got Broadway cards a lot, Jack Queen suited and stuff like that. And the other guy's just in the big blind, so he can have a lot of hands. So pretty clear, C-bet. And take it down. He probably, I mean, he could have small pairs as well some of the time, I guess. He might go set mining. Like I said, I don't know too much about him, so it's hard to define it. I mean, we do have 1k hands on him, so, but I just don't know if he's a winning or losing player. You know, that's one thing. It's just one thing to have a lot of hands on the player, but then you don't know, is he making good decisions with those stats, or is he making bad decisions with those stats? You know, some guy might have these stats and be down, 30k, another guy might have these stats and be up 100k. I mean, his stats generally look pretty good and aggressive. You know, he's raising 21% from early, 26 and 52 here, for 52 from the button. Raise 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's a pretty close one here. He does fold to a fair few 3-bets. And he hasn't been raising too much, so I think I might give it to him. But if we make this raise here, it does put him under a lot of pressure, and I'm pretty close with it. It does look kind of strong at the same time, but he hasn't really been opening too much. Even though it looks like he does, he hasn't been, and probably for the same reasons that we spoke about before, where, fear of just being attacked, because he's had a pretty vulnerable, no, not vulnerable, but, he's been, sort of had a target stack size, especially with Carpe Diem behind him, and when he had Mika behind him as well. Obviously Mika's gone now, but so he could probably start to open up a bit more. And everyone, I think, has played quite well at this final table. Has been pretty tough. I would like to have seen the guy whose name I keep saying, I'm sure incorrectly, Scams. He's got the little accent on the A. It's probably some funky sound. Oh, he gave us one. Just working out what I was going to do if he 3-bet. Finally gave us one. Go for 2 in a row. Pretty close there between checking back and betting. If we check back, I think he's going to bet a donk a turn a lot, and we just can't call unless we pick up an ace or a heart. It's kind of close, but third pot only has to work 25%. I think it does, but he hasn't been defending that wide. But we do get good leverage against his stack. It's pretty close. Obviously a bad board. I mean, he can have King 9, 10 Jack, Jack 9, stuff like that. He probably had a raggy ace and just didn't want to get jammed on us. I may be wrong and get dominated, or some sort of small suited connector, or worse. There's a break in a minute, which would be good. I feel like I need a little break. And blind's going up in 11 minutes. I think the next blind increase will be the key one. Because a lot of these guys that are sort of sitting pretty, you know, Godliker and Scams and Lol and Nino, they're all just sort of hovering above the blinds where they're not under any... I mean, they're under pressure, but not necessarily in jam or fold mode. We're going to start to see them, I think, a little bit more, I think, in sort of jam or fold mode. And I think we're going to see Carpe Diem continue to put pressure on them and raise on them a lot. And hopefully we can get involved in that process as well. Because anytime we raise now, you know, they're all under pressure. Godlike is going to be under, he's M10 now, but he's going to be less than that next level. Where's first turn? I think I will 3-bet him here, just because he just steals so much from small blind. I mean, he's going to jam a reasonable amount, but at the same time, he can't really 4-bet us to fold, because he'd have to put in half his stack, and he just steals so often. I mean, it's, his raise first in from button is 56, and small blind is 49. So, I mean, it's just huge. And I think I will go for 2 in a row here. It's a bit greedy. The one thing about players like this is they really don't like being owned. And I think if he folds again, he's being owned a bit. So I do think he's jamming pretty wide. It's a bit annoying to give him a few chips back after we just got some, but... yeah, I mean, I do think he's going to 4-bet pretty wide there. But at the same time, like I said, his stealing range is pretty wide. And we haven't been doing anything that crazy. We've been moderately active. And Godliker, the same, has been probably moderately on the tight side. So I think he does... even though he's got a stack size that can be attacked, and I think he's aware of that, I think he might tighten his range a little bit from... you know, might prevent him from stealing a little bit, but not too much. Not enough to still be raising a lot of mediocre hands. The question is once we 3-bet him, you know, how many of those mediocre hands does he jam? And with the high bubble factor with 3 players this short, I think it's okay. I think it's profitable. I mean, I think he folds enough. But at the same time, I think it is close because, like I said, players like that don't like being owned, and folding again there is a bit of ownage, and I think he is willing to take a stand. I mean, he's a big-time player, so it's not like he's too worried about making a mistake and busting next. But the bubble factor is still, as it is for any good player, is always a consideration. It's just part of the equation. So he's definitely factoring it in. But, you know, maybe we just ran into a hand, or maybe he made a nice 4-bet, you know, with like Queen 9 suited or something, and just decided he's going to take it, which is fine as well, I think, against our 3-betting range there if he's suspects we're up to something, which we were. So finish up there, guys. Take the break. Be right back.